Hi, Boaz and Corbin. It's Honey. I'm so glad to see you today. This is Paddington Bear and the Busy Bee Carnival, written by Michael Bond with pictures by R.W. Alley. It sure does look like Paddington's in a boat, doesn't it? And Paddington is famous because he almost always has his little brown briefcase and his red hat on and his blue coat. Those are some things that make Paddington Bear very recognizable. The other thing you may have noticed if you listen to our other Paddington Bear story is that he does not live in the United States. He lives in London. So they use words that we don't. When they refer to money, they might say quid or pence. When he takes a break to have a snack, he called it his elevenses in another book that we read. And in Paddington in the Garden, that pretty much means his yard, not a garden where you grow vegetables. So it's funny how words can have different meanings depending on where you live. Let's see what we can find in this book. One day, Paddington's friend, Mr. Gruber, took him on a surprise outing to a part of London known as Little Venice. It's called Little Venice because it's by a canal, he explained, and every spring they hold a big carnival. Boats come from all over the country to take part in the celebration. Paddington always enjoyed his time out with Mr. Gruber. He waved as one of the boats went past. All the people on the boat waved back at him. Let's look at what else is going on here in Little Venice. That's a bridge. That's a famous double-decker bus in London. And sure enough, there's the water in the canal, and that's a lot of boats in one little canal. There's a baby in a stroller, two little boys. This gentleman's tying up his boat. I've never been in a ride on a canal before, said Paddington. Who knows, said Mr. Gruber mysteriously. Perhaps you will before the day is out. But first of all, we must see what else is happening. We don't want to miss anything important. Let's see. He pointed to a board showing all the different events, but there were so many, Paddington didn't know which to try first. How about the Busy Bee Adventure Trail, suggested Mr. Gruber. You have to find as many things as possible, beginning with the letter B. Did you notice the boy right here is also the boy who is around the corner right there? Oh, and look, Paddington's suitcase even has his initials, Paddington Bear, P.B. Paddington thought that the adventure sounded like a very good idea, especially when Mr. Gruber told him first prize was a free boat ride for two. Bears are good at trails, Mr. Gruber, he explained. Looking around, he could already see a lot of things beginning with the letter B. Apart from B for board, there was a boy blowing bubbles, a man eating a bagel, another with a broom, a barbecue, a lady selling bananas. There were boats everywhere and lots of balloons. There was even a man playing a banjo in a band. Oh my, we have to see if we can find the things in the picture. The things in the picture. So there's a B for board. Where's the, oh, there's a boy blowing bubbles. Can you find the man eating a bagel? Oh, I see him. Do you? Where's the man with the broom? Oh, let's see. Oh, I see a man with a broom. It's very hard to find, especially on the video. But look, right there. That man sweeping his boat with a broom. Then it talked about a barbecue. I think that must be what they mean. A lady selling bananas. Surely you can see the lady selling bananas. Do you see the man playing a banjo in the band? I see him. And balloons. Do you see balloons? Oh, I do now. There you go. After Paddington had finished writing all of these things down, he and Mr. Gruber set off along the canal. In no time at all, Paddington had added 5 other items to his list. First, there was B for bridge, because they were walking under a bridge. Then blackbird. Right there, you see it. Buttercup. Blossom. Butterfly. Let's get closer and see if you can find the blossom. Yep, there's the butterfly. And if I'm not mistaken, buttercup refers to these flowers. They hadn't gone very far when they saw a lady feeding ducks. She was wearing a bonnet, a blouse fastened at the neck with a brooch, and around her wrist she wore a bracelet. So she was wearing a bonnet, and she had a blouse attached with a brooch, and she had a bracelet on her wrist. When she saw Paddington, she smiled and said, "Would you like some?" "Thank you very much." He wrote down bag and bread. Then he raised his hat politely and said, "Busy Bee adventure trails make you hungry." And look, there's that boy. He's hiding behind Paddington there, and he's hiding behind Paddington there. Did you notice that? I wonder what that's all about. "This is the sort of day out I like, Mr. Gruber," Paddington announced, as he took a jar of marmalade from his suitcase and began making a sandwich. See, there's the boy. "Mr. Brown," Mr. Gruber gave a slight cough, "I think you were really meant to give the bread to the ducks, not make a sandwich with it." Before Paddington had time to reply, there was a loud buzzing sound and something landed on his marmalade. Paddington gave the object a hard stare before adding something to his list. And what do you think he added to his list? Yes, that was a bee. A bee landed on his sandwich. Next, they came upon a man fishing. "I think you've struck lucky, Mr. Brown," whispered Mr. Gruber. He waited patiently while Paddington wrote down box, followed by beret, beard, belt, buckle, boots, bucket and basket. "Would you like to have a try?" said the man. "You can use some of my worms if you'd like." Paddington thought at first that was a very good idea, but he decided to write down B for bait on his list. And there's that little boy. "If you're going for the Busy Bee competition," said the man, "you should watch out. There's a boy following you, and I think he is up to no good." Paddington was about to say thank you when he felt a tug on the fishing line. "I think it might be too big to go in my jar, whatever it is," he exclaimed. "It feels like W for whale." "I don't think you'll find any whales this far inland, Mr. Brown," said Mr. Gruber tactfully. At the same time, all to be on the safe side, Mr. Gruber tied some rope around his friend's waist. "Strike me pink," said the fisherman. "It's a bicycle." Paddington was almost disappointed. "Never mind," said Mr. Gruber. "At least it's another word for your list. B is for bicycle." You do get the idea that young man is up to no good. We'll see. Things are not always as they appear. Shortly afterward, they came upon a stretch of water with high banks and trees on either side. Paddington decided to have a go at riding his bicycle, but soon he discovered why it had been thrown away. "I think I'd better hold the other end, Mr. Gruber," he gasped, pointing to the rope still tied around his waist, "in case I fall in the canal." Mr. Gruber was about to explain that if he did, there would be nothing else for anyone to hold on to when he saw the look on Paddington's face. "Is anything the matter, Mr. Brown?" "I think we're being followed by a bee for bush, Mr. Gruber," Paddington hissed. Sure enough, there's the boy in the bush, following them. "Come back!" shouted Mr. Gruber, "whoever you are." Meanwhile, Paddington had added binoculars to his list. While he was riding, a boat went past, and one of the passengers had a baby on her lap. She was feeding him from a bottle. The baby was wearing a bib, and his sister was holding a ball. So Paddington added all of those things to his list. Mr. Gruber sat down by the water while Paddington added up his list. All together, with bank and brambles next to Mr. Gruber, he had 41 things, beginning with the letter B. And see, there's the boy with the binoculars. Mr. Gruber looked at his watch. "I think it's time we got back, Mr. Brown. We don't want to be late for the judging." "Good luck," called the fisherman as they went past. "We shall be cheering for you," said the lady feeding the ducks. "Has anyone collected more than 40 bees?" called the judge. "I have," cried Paddington, waving his paper. "I've got 41. "So have I," a voice came from nearby. Mr. Gruber looked over the boy's shoulder. "This list is exactly the same as young Mr. Brown's. You must have been copying it word for word." "Oh, dear," said the judge, "we can't have that. I'm afraid I shall have to stop the contest. We cannot have cheating." "It's all right, Mr. Gruber," called Paddington. "We've won. I've thought of another B, and that gives me 42. "Fancy nearly forgetting the most important of them all," said Mr. Gruber as they set off on their boat trip. "What made you think of it?" "I saw my reflection in the water," said Paddington. "It's often the hardest to see the things that are right under your nose," said Mr. Gruber. "It is if you're B for bear," agreed Paddington. "Bears have very long noses." It was dark by the time Paddington and Mr. Gruber arrived back, and the fireworks had already started. Mr. Gruber bought a pack of sparklers, and they stood on the bridge to watch. Paddington joined in with his own display. With his sparkler, he waved, "Thank you, Mr. Gruber, for a lovely day out." In the excitement, the only person who noticed was Mr. Gruber himself. But that's all that really mattered. Oh, they're enjoying the fireworks, aren't they? "If you ask me, Mr. Brown," said Mr. Gruber as they made their way home, "the nicest bee of all is yet to come." "I think I know what that is," Paddington said sleepily. "It's B for bed. The end.